Welcome to Lesson 6. This is the one where everything changes. Up to now, you've been a tourist, pulling down images other people built. Today, you become the builder. A Dockerfile is just a recipe, a handful of instructions, your code, one Docker build, and you've got an image you can ship anywhere on Earth. So here's the map for the next few minutes. 4 skills in order. First, you'll learn to read a Dockerfile, and the good news is just 6 instructions cover 90% of what you'll ever see. From, workdir, copy, run, expose, and CMD. Then you'll build your first image with Docker build, tag it, and run it. After that, we'll make it fast with the layer cache, and finally clean it up with dockerignore so you stop shipping junk like Node modules into production. And here's the whole recipe on one screen. 6 instructions, 1 shippable Node.js app. Read it top to bottom like a story. From picks your base image, workdir sets where everything happens, copy pulls in your package files, run installs dependencies at build time, then a second copy brings in the rest of your code, expose documents the port, and CMD defines what runs when the container starts. Every one of those lines adds a layer to your image. And that detail is going to matter a lot in a few slides. With the recipe in hand, the actual workflow is brutally simple. 3 commands. You write the Docker file, you build it with docker build-t, name : tag, and a dot for the build context. Then you run it just like any other image. That's the loop you'll live in. Write, build, run. Only the code changes. The muscle memory stays the same. And once you're in that loop, here's where the cache earns its keep. Every instruction in your Docker file becomes a layer, and Docker happily reuses those layers until something changes. But the moment one layer's inputs shift, every layer below it has to rebuild. So if you copy your whole project before running npm install, every tiny code edit nukes your dependencies and reinstalls them from scratch. Flip the order. Copy the manifests first, install, then copy the code, and suddenly your rebuilds drop from 60 seconds to 2. Same instructions, just smarter order. Speaking of smarter, before you even touch layer order, there's a one-file fix that gives you a 10x speedup for free, the dockerignore. Without it, every build ships your entire project to the Docker daemon, Node modules, the Git history, .env files, editor junk, 300 megabytes of noise that breaks your cache and quietly bakes secrets into your image. Add this file, same syntax as .dockerignore, and suddenly you're sending 30 megs instead of 300. Build start in a second. Secrets stay home. Now for the instruction that trips up almost everyone, CMD versus ENTRYPOINT. Think of it this way. CMD is a suggestion, ENTRYPOINT is a commitment. With CMD, if someone runs your image with bash on the end, your command gets thrown out and bash runs instead. With ENTRYPOINT, the command always runs, and whatever the user passes just becomes its arguments. So CMD is for app processes you might want to override during debugging. ENTRYPOINT is for turning your image into a CLI tool, like a kubectl wrapper. Once you've nailed the 6 core instructions, here are the power moves that separate a working Docker file from a production one. RG gives you build time variables you set with build arg, perfect for pinning a node version. env bakes values into the image itself, so they're live inside the running container. Health check lets Docker monitor your app automatically. User drops you out of root, non-negotiable for security. Label adds searchable metadata. And target lets you build just one stage, which is your teaser for Lesson 7. So here's your one-page reference. 12 instructions. The entire Dockerfile vocabulary on a single screen. The left column is your foundation. From, add, ENTRYPOINT, RG. The middle handles the build and runtime environment. Workdir, run, expose, user. And the right column controls what actually happens when the container starts. Copy, CMD, ENV, health check. Screenshot this one. You'll come back to it more than you think. Now, before you ship your first real Docker file, here are 5 traps that burn every junior. 1. Copy ... at the top. Every code edit blows your cache and reinstalls everything. Copy your manifest first, install, then copy the rest. 2. Skipping ... dockerignore. You're shipping node modules, .git, and your secrets into the build context. 3. Running as root. 1 container escape, and you own the host. 4. Shell form for CMD. Signals don't propagate, your container won't shut down cleanly. And 5. Forgetting -t, an unnamed image you can only run by ID. Fix these now. Save yourself a week of debugging later. Theory's done. Time to get your hands dirty. 3 exercises. First, build a tiny Node app, write a Dockerfile, and run it on localhost 3000. Second, feel the cache. Edit, rebuild, time it. Then reorder so npm install sits before the code copy and watch a 60-second rebuild collapse to 2. Third, run Docker history on your image and find the fattest layer. Spoiler, it's node modules. That's the setup for Lesson 7. And that's Lesson 6 in the bag. You're not a tourist anymore. You build images. From, copy, run, expose, CMD, cache order, dockerignore, that's your toolkit. Next up, Lesson 7, best practices, small images, multi-stage builds, and the cache tricks that turn a 1.2 gigabyte monster into 80 megabytes. Real numbers. See you there.